안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 지금 야간 근무하고 퇴근했어요. 아침 먹고 와서 빈둥빈둥 되다 보니까 벌써 8시입니다. 8시. 일단은 오늘은 스쿼트 운동, 하체 운동, 월, 화, 수. 이제 코로나 때문에 수영이 안 한 지 지금 한 달이 넘었어요. 영어 학원도 안 가고 있고 언제 오픈할지 모르겠습니다. 어젯밤 미국 증시가 13% 하락했죠. 아직 매수 타이밍 아닙니다, 여러분. 이제 유럽연합이 오늘 결정을 할 거예요. 30일 동안 국경을 봉쇄하자고, 연합 국가끼리. 30일이죠. 근데 빨리 해결되면은 더 빨리 할 수도 있겠지만 연장도 할 수도 있고요. 30일, 한 달입니다. 앞으로 한 달 동안 경제가 마이너스라는 얘기인데, 원래는 이번 주 아니면 다음 주가 매수 타임이었는데, 일단 이번 주는 절대 아니에요. 근데 다음 주도 아닐 것 같습니다. 앞으로 한 달 동안 국경을 봉쇄를 하면은, 한 달이 안 간다 치고, 한 달 가려나? 근데 모르겠습니다. 유럽 쪽 사람들은 워낙에 마스크도 안 쓰고, 그래가지고 또 검사도 잘 안 하잖아요. 국경 봉쇄가 얼마나 통할지는 모르겠는데 한 달. 지금 3월 중순이니까 그럼 4월 중순에서 4월 말. 4월 말이 4월 중순? 4월 중순이 매수 타이밍이지 않을까. 근데 코로나가 끝나고 나서도 이거를 따져봐야 돼요, 여러분. 경제가 회복이 얼마나 빠를 건지, 그냥 그 백신 나오는 거에서 바로 떡상할 건지. 우리나라는 계약을 2주 연기할 건데, 계약 2주 연기가 2주 동안은 더 불안에 떨 거라는 건데, 어, 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 역시 운동할 땐 CNN이죠.
This cave system is called the Molnár János cave, and it's actually huge. 7 kilometer long has been discovered, and it's up to 90 meters deep.
제가 오랜만에 구독자를 확인했는데 구독자가 71명이 됐습니다. 누군지 모르겠지만 구독해 주시는 분들 감사합니다.
Normally do here, they dive much deeper.
It's kind of weird to have online class. You can easily fall asleep when you're at home taking class.
Obviously, I prefer in-person classes, but at this situation, I think that's the best solution.
So I'm a law student, and law classes tend to be very stressful, so it's a little bit more relaxed. in the physical experience, but it's not as good learning.
I have no visibility of what it will become in the next 1 month or 2 months, few months. Yeah, I miss not wearing masks on the street, and I miss the other activities with friends or with families.
The most annoying thing is not being able to unlock my phone with Face ID. So I need to type in my passcode every time I use my phone.
That's people like you and I reacting around the world, from whether it's Hong Kong, New York, or Paris, to the coronavirus outbreak. Now, the White House is advising people to avoid groups of more than 10 and urging older Americans to stay home altogether. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the new guidance on Monday. Coronavirus cases in the country have now topped 4,000 and at least 74 people have died. Mr. Trump appeared a bit more downbeat than he has in the past, as he called on people to rally together as a nation.
We've made the decision to further toughen the guidelines and blunt the infection now. We'd much rather be ahead of the curve than behind it, and that's what we are. Therefore, my administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible, avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
As the number of coronavirus cases grew in the United States, officials reassured Americans that the coronavirus is spread by people who already have symptoms, the advantage being you can detect them usually. But that is not always true. Senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen has the details.
As the death toll mounts from the novel coronavirus, questions are rising about whether U.S. officials might have gotten it wrong about how the virus spreads. On March 1st, Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar said on ABC's This Week that it's mainly spread by people who are already sick.
You really need to just focus on the individuals that are symptomatic. It really does depend on symptomatic presentation.
The website for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is the same. Can someone spread the virus without being sick? The answer from the CDC: some spread might be possible before people show symptoms, but this is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. But in Massachusetts, more than 80 people contracted coronavirus at a conference held by this biotech company. The State Department of Health telling CNN that none of the people who attended displayed any symptoms during the conference. Epidemiologist Michael Osterholm is director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota.
We now have conclusive evidence that the disease is also being transmitted through asymptomatic carriers or people who show no symptoms. And trying to stop that transmission is like trying to stop the wind.
And this study, which has yet to be peer-reviewed, found that in Singapore and in Tianjin, a city in China, infection was transmitted about 2 to 3 days before symptom onset. And that makes the outbreak much more difficult to control.
Honestly, with this kind of transmission, we're never going to stop it. What we best are able to do is slow it down.
None of the experts CNN spoke to could say exactly what percentage of people are getting infected with the virus by people who don't have symptoms. CNN reached out to Secretary Azar and the CDC, but did not receive responses. On Saturday, Dr. Deborah Birx, the coordinator of the White House Coronavirus Response Task Force, sent a somewhat different message, suggesting that people under age 20 could possibly be spreading the virus without having any symptoms.
And until you really understand how many people are asymptomatic and asymptomatically passing the virus on, we need for the entire American public to know that the risk of serious illness may be low, but they could be potentially spreading the virus to others.
Some experts say this is a step in the right direction, but still.
This is a time for straight talk. This is a time when we have to tell the public what we know and don't know.
A time for straight talk about a virus that might be spreading in ways we hadn't anticipated. Elizabeth Cohen, CNN, Atlanta.
The fear over the pandemic has sent U.S. stocks plunging yet again. All three indices fell at least 12% on Monday, with the Dow recording its worst one-day point drop in history. Stocks fell in the final hour of trading as President Trump said that the public health crisis could last until July or August. Let's bring in CNN global economic analyst Rana Foroohar. She's also the global business columnist for the Financial Times. Rana, is it possible at this stage to know where the bottom is, how bad this could get?
No, I don't think it is. And that's true both in the markets and the real economy. I think what we need to see, frankly, is a big government action. In the US, as in so many developed countries, consumer spending is 2/3 of the economy. So when that is pulled away so dramatically,
13%가 아니고 12.93%예요. 12.93%.
online shopping,
다우지수가.
you need
나스닥은
the government to come
12.3%.
in and play that role of the buyer of last resort. And we haven't really seen that yet. We're starting to see talk about bailouts for industries like the airline business. You're starting to see talk about even individual payments to consumers. But we haven't seen what we need yet in order to stop that market shift. And in terms of where the real economy is going to end up, I mean, what I'm hearing from many economists, and this is certainly my opinion, is that we are going to be probably in a recession for 2020, and we're now starting to look at a recovery maybe in 2021, because if we're going to be on lockdown until July or August, that is essentially, more than half of the year gone.
There has been some action, though. The Fed has slashed interest rates. The Bank of England has cut interest rates. The European Central Bank has not cut interest rates, but moved, again, to reassure the markets and to stabilize the economy. And those tools that we usually see deployed when economies and markets need help, they just haven't worked.
Well, you put your finger on it. What we're seeing is central bankers using what they have, which is monetary stimulus, cutting interest rates down to zero, buying more assets. But the problem is we saw all those same actions in the wake of 2008, 2009. That's what we've seen for the last decade. It was really only recently in the last few years that we saw policy beginning to normalize. So those tools have really been used up. The ammo is gone. And central bankers, it must be said, have been saying for the last couple of years, look, politicians, government leaders, if we have another big crisis, we don't have the tools. So this is not a surprise.
Yeah, I have to say, this was said during the first 3 months of the first 3 years, beg your pardon, of the Trump administration. Hey, if we don't raise interest rates now, we will have less leeway to lower them when the economy and the markets need it. All right, so if that's not working, what will work or what could work?
Again, I think that you're going to need to see fiscal stimulus. What we've seen is monetary stimulus. You cannot fix a crisis like this by simply lowering interest rates. No one's borrowing right now. Banks are not going to be lending. I mean, you have corporations tapping their credit lines, and you're
Rana, you're talking bailouts? Bailouts for what? The travel industry, the hotel industry, the auto industry, maybe? I mean, it's across the board.
I wouldn't start actually with the big industries. What I would start with is individual consumers, homeowners. I'd like to see a social safety net put in place in the U.S. For starters. I'd like to see homeowners and individual consumers assured that their rents or their mortgages can be offset somehow. I'd like to see some subsidies for small and mid-sized businesses. And yes, you might need to see a bailout for the airline business, but let's not make it like we did last time, where the government doesn't get, and taxpayers more precisely, don't get of that recovery. We cannot have a situation in which individuals feel that they are not getting relief when big companies are.
So Rana, let me get this clear. You want, for instance, in the U.S. scenario, you want individuals to be able to get loans from the banks, right? To be able to borrow money, buy homes, etc.
No. What I'm saying is the government should be looking for ways to bolster individuals, be they, actually paying out some cash help, giving subsidies to small businesses, for example, foregoing certain kinds of taxes. There's any number of technical ways in which this could be done. What I'm saying is you cannot have a handful of big industries getting bailouts when taxpayers and small businesses that make up 2/3 of consumer spending are not. We cannot have that kind of political paradigm again right now.
Rana Foroohar, thank you very much. I want to point out something, and I know it's real early to draw big conclusions from this, but Amazon just said in the US they're adding 100,000 jobs because they're getting so many online orders from people who are quarantined and shopping. I just wonder what it does to that specific part of the economy, everything that is e-commerce and everything that's online.
It's a great question, and I suspect that that's going to be the one place that you actually might see upside here. And you're not seeing in the stock market yet prices go up, but you're seeing them go down far less than the rest of the market. So for sure, I think that the big tech is going to be one of the few winners here. It's virtual, cash rich, debt poor.
Yeah, we're talking recession. They're talking adding the 100,000 jobs. All right, Rana Faruhar, thank you very much. I want to bring in Boris Sanchez. He is live at the White House where Donald Trump gave new guidelines to Americans today. Stay home if you can. If you can work remotely, go ahead and do so. Avoid the traveling. Boris, one thing was very notable from Mr. Trump's speech. He was a lot less optimistic today than he has been since the beginning of the outbreak.
No question, Cyril. President Trump sounding a very different tone than he has in the past months. Initially saying that this was not really something to worry about, that the administration had things under control. The president today acknowledging that this virus is not under control and flatly stating that this situation is bad. However, the president also saying that he would give himself and his administration a 10 out of 10 rating for their response to this outbreak, even though we saw the stock market plummet yet again today, the death toll rise, and a shortage of tests, coronavirus tests, in the areas where they are most needed. Here's more from President Trump.
The stock market took another hit today. Is the U.S. economy heading into a recession? Well, it may be. We're not thinking in terms of recession. We're thinking in terms of the virus. Once we stop, I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand, both in terms of the stock market and in terms of the economy. And once this goes away, once it goes through and we're done with it, I think you're going to see a tremendous surge.
Yeah, and President Trump saying that that may not get cleared up. The economic situation may not get cleared up until potentially August, something that is personally concerning for him, considering his re-election bid heading into November 2020. I do also want to explain some of these guidelines very quickly. As you said, Cyril, the U.S. government asking Americans to stay home if they are sick for the next 15 days, to avoid social gatherings with 10 or more people, to avoid bars and restaurants and discretionary travel, as well as consistently asking that folks wash their hands and touching their faces. Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the leaders of this coronavirus task force, was asked about the situation and whether some of these measures may be an overreaction. He said they were not. Listen from Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The worst is yet
몇 분이지?
for us.
17분
It is
했네요.
how we respond to that challenge that's going to determine what the ultimate
여러분
endpoint is
진짜
going to be.
멀쩡해 보이죠?
Noticeably,
밤 샜습니다.
guidelines, not mandates
야간
from
근무
the federal
첫날이었어요.
government, though we are seeing local governments, state governments.
사실 이 전날에도 밤을 샜습니다. 그 전날에는 넷플릭스에서 위쳐 보느라고. 여러분 위쳐 진짜 너무 재밌어. 빨리 시즌 2가 나왔으면 좋겠어. 킹덤도 너무 재밌는데 위쳐도 너무 재밌어. 진짜. 그런 판타지물은 진짜 외국만의 딱 전유물인 것 같아요. 외국의 전유물.
Markets across Asia now set for the start of a new trading day just hours after Wall Street plummeted.
아시아 마켓 오늘 좀 있으면 열리죠. 지금 제가 8시부터 운동했으니까는 약 40분 남았네요. 이제 샤워하고 올 건데 샤워하고 나면은 9시 오픈하겠죠. 진짜 오늘 주식장 얼마나 떨어질지 예상하지 못하겠습니다. 여기까지 하겠습니다. 오늘 여기까지.